I'm going to show you two photos of former Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Under the law Congress passed, you were allowed to redact photos to protect the victims of Epstein's sex trafficking operation. You redacted the photos of this victim's face because you were following the congressional law. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, that we redacted the victim's
Because you were following the congressional law, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me take you through a really intriguing story involving Prince Andrew and an unfolding situation with Attorney General Pam Bondi. So there are these pictures we've all seen of Prince Andrew partying with Jeffrey Epstein, and it turns out that the law Congress put in place allows them to redact the images of Epstein's victims to keep their identities protected. Bondi's team did just that when it came to a victim's face, following the legal rules, you know.
We are looking at a sex trafficking victim. Under the Federal Victims Trafficking Protection Act, not only is Jeffrey Epstein guilty, but anyone who patronizes Epstein's sex operation is also guilty of a crime. That's why I find it absolutely despicable that you sought to protect Epstein's clients, like former Prince Andrew.
Here's where it gets really wild. Right now, Bondi is facing some serious heat. Democrats in Congress are pretty much accusing her of lying when she claimed under oath that Donald Trump's name didn't show up in the Epstein files. They are calling for a special counsel to look into possible perjury, which is a big deal. Two Congress members, Ted Lieu and Dan Goldman, even sent a formal request to the Justice Department on February 24, 2026, urging for an investigation into whether Bondi committed a crime during her sworn testimony at a House Judiciary Committee hearing.
I also found an email that I have right here from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell that was unredacted, and it included notes of statements that Donald Trump made about his prior relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, there is no reason for this to be hidden from the American people. There is no privilege, there is no attorney-client privilege, and I see you're checking with your staff, and I can assure you, staff, this is not under attorney-client privilege because it was sent from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell.
What makes this so alarming is that it isn't just vague accusations. It's all based on what happened right there on camera in front of everyone. Bondi was sitting there, raised her right hand, took an oath to tell the truth, and declared that there was no evidence linking Trump to any wrongdoing in the Epstein files. But literally in the same meeting, Congressman Ted Lieu pulled out official documents that showed Trump's name popping up again and again in tips, memos, and allegations from those files. And even after all that, Bondi stuck to her gun, saying her answer wouldn't change.
I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files
I'm reclaiming my time.
be
I got
released.
your answer. You said there's no evidence.
Trump asked
Mr. Chairman,
that
please
they
stop the clock.
sign
Stop the clock.
the legislation.
It's a puzzling situation seeing the top law enforcement officer in the country refuse to acknowledge what's right in front of her. So there's this wild situation with Congress. One member is standing there waving actual evidence right in front of the Attorney General, yet she insists there's no evidence at all. It's hard to wrap your head around how someone could be so out of touch with the materials they're supposed to oversee. Some folks are even suggesting this isn't just a simple misunderstanding. It's something way more serious. That's why you've got Democrats demanding a criminal investigation. Honestly, the whole thing is getting ridiculous. They're trying to distract everyone from all the positive things Trump has accomplished, insisting there's no evidence against him. And just to clarify, there's a ton of misinformation swirling around about Pam Bondi right now. The Department of Justice released some files where, believe it or not, Trump's name shows up in various tips, allegations, and internal memos. During a congressional hearing, Bondi was confronted with these documents in real time, but she just wouldn't acknowledge what they actually say.
Meanwhile, in some more national news for you this morning, the Department of Justice released more than 3 million pages of files related to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation on Friday. The new files mention President Trump hundreds of times, along with former President Bill Clinton, Elon Musk, and more. The Justice Department says the Epstein files were reviewed and redacted, but the attorney for Epstein's accusers is pushing back, arguing they should have released more records and done more to protect victims.
Now we have two lawmakers who are officially asking for a special counsel to investigate whether the Attorney General might have committed perjury to protect the president. That's a significant development, and the facts surrounding it speak volumes without any embellishments. Let's dig into what happened at that hearing, because many folks might have seen snippets but lack the full picture of why it's so important. The House Judiciary Committee held a hearing focusing on the Jeffrey Epstein investigation files released by the Department of Justice. These documents include internal records, tips received, memos written, and allegations logged, all related to one of the most significant sex trafficking cases in modern American history. Among thousands of pages, Trump's name pops up, not tucked away in some obscure footnote, but in tips, memos, unverified allegations, and summaries created by DOJ investigators,
who had decided, for reasons of their own, never to release their names. That determination was represented to people in Congress, and we built it into our federal law that their names could not be released, and yet you published their names, their phone numbers, their addresses, personally identifying information. If Donald Trump can get $10 billion theoretically from the Department of Justice, how much should these people get for a far worse violation of their privacy rights and a far greater danger established to them in their lives?
It's crucial to point out that unverified doesn't mean proven. It doesn't imply Trump was charged or that guilt has been established, but it does mean the information is there. Federal investigators logged it, and now it's part of the public record thanks to the release of those documents. When Bondi sat before the House Judiciary Committee and claimed under oath that there was no evidence of Trump committing any crime related to Epstein, that statement didn't go unchallenged. Members who had actually taken the time to read the files were quick to point out that Trump's name was indeed mentioned. The documents even include a DOJ presentation summarizing allegations from a woman who claimed Trump assaulted her, along with another witness account stating that Epstein introduced a young woman to Trump and made a comment about her appearance. So those references are very much a part of the discussion now. So Bondi, who oversees the Department of Justice and all its investigations, seems to have either not looked at the materials before she testified or decided to interpret them in a way that doesn't match what the documents actually say. Either scenario is a huge issue for the current Attorney General of the United States. The confrontation during the hearing was pretty unusual for that level of government. Congressman Ted Lieu didn't just toss a vague question at Bondi. He came in armed with documents, he pulled them out during the questioning and methodically went through them right there in front of everyone. Lieu showcased the DOJ presentation that summarized the allegations against Trump and referred to specific witness accounts, laying it all out clearly. Then he asked her directly, "Given what is clearly in these files, how can you say there is no evidence?" Bondi, sitting right there, looked at the same documents, but stuck to her guns, refusing to change her testimony. She insisted that her answer stood, maintaining there was no evidence of Trump committing any crime. That moment was crucial and sparked the push for a special counsel for Lou Goldman and the other Democrats on the committee. It wasn't just a disagreement over legal terms. They saw the Attorney General making a sworn statement that contradicted documents from her own department. If that's the case and her testimony under oath doesn't match what the release files show, that's textbook perjury, which is lying to Congress, a federal crime that could lead to real prison time. Now, let's talk about that letter. The letter that Lieu and Goldman sent to the Justice Department wasn't just a casual complaint or a press release dressed up as oversight. This was a formal request for a special counsel. The reason they're asking for a special counsel instead of just handing it over for an internal review is clear. Bondi runs the Department of Justice, and you can't expect someone to investigate themselves. You can't ask the Attorney General to appoint investigators to determine whether she committed a crime. There's definitely a conflict of interest here. And that's exactly why we have a special counsel mechanism. It's for situations where the usual chain of command can't be counted on to handle investigations fairly. So Liu and Goldman wrote a letter detailing everything that went down during the hearing. They pointed out specific documents that contradict what Bondi said. Their argument is that the difference between Bondi's sworn testimony and what the Department of Justice files reveal is significant enough to trigger a formal criminal investigation. Now, whether the Justice Department actually decides to appoint a special counsel is another story. Honestly, considering the current administration, we can't expect them to investigate their own attorney general anytime soon. But that letter exists, and it's officially on record. It's been sent out and creates a paper trail that can't just be brushed aside. Even if nothing comes of it right now, that letter stays in the official records. If the political climate shifts, if we see a new administration, or if Congress changes hands, that letter and the evidence it talks about could be picked up again in the future. Now, let's add a twist to the plot. Bondi's issues with credibility didn't just pop up during this hearing. She has a bit of a history that complicates things even further. Before stepping into her role as Attorney General when she was serving as the Attorney General of Florida, something pretty significant happened. The Trump Foundation. Yes, that Trump Foundation made a $25,000 donation to a political group backing Bondi's campaign. And here's the kicker. It happened around the same time her office was deciding whether to take action against Trump University, which was facing fraud claims in several states. Other state attorneys general dove into the lawsuit against Trump University, but Bondi's office chose to drop it right before the donation came to light. It turned out that donation was illegal. It violated IRS rules because the Trump Foundation, being a charitable organization, wasn't allowed to make political donations. Trump ended up having to pay a penalty for that too. While Bondi has consistently denied any link between that donation and her choice not to pursue the Trump University case, the optics have stuck around. It's a tangled web, and the story just keeps getting more intricate. There's been a lot of chatter over the years about Pam Bondi's actions, especially when it comes to her decisions that seem to benefit Trump, while she insists there's no connection. Now, as the Attorney General of the United States, she's sitting in front of Congress declaring there's no evidence against Trump in the Epstein files, but the documents tell a different story. It's clear why people are connecting the dots. And critics are quick to point out that this isn't just a one-off. It's part of a bigger pattern of protecting Trump, no matter what the evidence might say. Adding to the mix, social media has really taken this to another level, creating a whole new kind of chaos. While the real drama unfolds in Congress and with letters to the Department of Justice, a whole other universe of fictional content is booming online. You have YouTube channels and creators dishing out slickly produced series that show dramatized courtroom moments where Bondi is imagined caught red-handed, whisking away boxes of evidence from the courthouse while a judge supposedly threatens her with jail time or even arrests her right there. These videos are racking up millions of views, and they look and sound incredibly convincing, complete with flashy graphics, dramatic music, and urgent voiceovers. People are not just watching, but sharing these fictional tales, believing they're real-life events despite the creators labeling them as fiction. Those labels often get lost in the overwhelming amount of content out there. This creates a real mess because it gives Bondi's supporters the chance to dismiss everything as fake news. They can point to those fictional videos to undermine the serious congressional accusations and the very real letter asking for a special counsel. That's the tricky part about mixing scripted drama with real political news. It lets folks brush off everything, both real and fake, as just more internet drama. But the real story with the congressional hearings, the documents, the sworn testimonies, and the formal request for a criminal investigation is all 100% genuine. And it's not going anywhere just because some YouTubers decided to spin their own dramatized tales for clicks. When you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, and the hearings, the documents, the testimonies, it's all deeply intertwined with real stakes. There's a lot going on right now with the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and it's not looking good for her. We're talking serious legal issues, not some passing political mess that fades away after a news cycle. If a special counsel steps in or if the next administration decides to look at that letter she sent, Bondi could find herself in a formal criminal investigation. It's all about whether she misled Congress about a really high-profile case that has everyone's attention. Now, here's the kicker. She claimed there's no evidence against Trump in those files, but those very files tell a different story. Being in that position as the Attorney General is tough, and you definitely don't want to be there when you've taken an oath to uphold the law. Every minute that passes with new documents being released and new witnesses speaking up, the pressure on Bondi grows. The contradictions in her statements become more difficult to explain away. Let's break this down, as it's got significant implications for the credibility of the whole Department of Justice. First up, Bondi's sworn testimony is being challenged by Congress members who have the proof to support their claims. We're not talking vague accusations here. Representative Ted Lieu even brought out actual DOJ documents during the hearing and went through them on camera, showing everyone that Trump's name shows up in tips, memos, and allegations related to the Epstein files. He pointed to a specific DOJ presentation summarizing an assault claim linked to Trump and mentioned a witness account of Epstein introducing someone to him. These aren't just whispers. This is hard evidence from the very department Bondi oversees. When confronted with this evidence, Bondi didn't even say she needed to look into it further or that she could have been mistaken. Nope. She doubled down with her claim of no evidence. That stubbornness and refusal to acknowledge what those documents show is what led to the perjury accusation. Because it's not just about saying something false. It's about doing so under oath when you know or should know that it's not true. So here's the scoop. When you have documents from your own department going against your sworn testimony and a member of Congress shows them to you right then and there, refusing to set the record straight really raises some eyebrows. Lieu and Goldman think that's enough to kickstart a criminal investigation. Now, even if a special counsel hasn't been appointed yet, the formal accusation is on record. It's part of Congress's documentation, and it's going to stick with Bondi for her entire career and beyond. Then there's the whole conflict of interest issue. It's a bit of a mess when the Department of Justice is expected to investigate its own Attorney General. That's why everyone thinks a special counsel is the only way to go. Bondi's at the top of the Justice Department. She decides what gets investigated and who gets prosecuted. Asking the DOJ to look into whether Bondi committed perjury is like expecting someone to grade their own exam. It's just not going to fly. That's why Lieu and Goldman are pushing for a special counsel, an independent prosecutor who wouldn't answer to Bondi and would report to the court instead. However, the process of appointing a special counsel currently requires the Attorney General to make that appointment, which we all know isn't going to happen. Bondi isn't about to sign off on someone looking into her own actions. That's the tricky part of the whole situation. But the request is still significant. It creates a formal record and puts the DOJ on alert. It adds political and legal pressure that can build up over time. If Congress shifts control or a new administration comes in, that request could gain traction and lead to real action. This letter isn't just some political gesture, it's a legal marker. It documents that at this moment, these Congress members believe the Attorney General committed perjury and have officially asked for an investigation. This isn't going to fade away, it's going to loom over Bondi every day she's in that role.